become very difficult to kind of follow. And this,
I'm gonna tell my nephew this is Zuckerberg. Nah, it's a little Lil Zucky, Justin Timberpool. Yeah, he's a musician, dude. Yeah, Lil Zucky. Please blink, bro. Humans do that shit way more than once every 3 minutes. Anyway, let's talk about Zuckerbot.
to push that program, they also tried to censor anyone who was basically arguing against it. And they pushed us super hard to take down things that were honestly were true, right? I mean, they basically pushed us and said, you know, anything that says that vaccines might have side effects, you basically need to take down. And I was just like, well, we're not going to do that. Like, we're clearly not going to do that. I mean, that is kind of inarguable.
Bro, I'm sorry.
Tim Pool.
But it is so unimaginably simple to dupe conservabots. All you need to do is just be like, yeah, I hate vaccines and people and Mexicans, really. What I hate the most, though, a vaccinated Mexican. And then that's it. They're like, oh, he's no longer overcome by the woke mind virus. That's it. That's all it takes, man. What the hell is wrong with these people?
But he did.
Right.
And he's a weasel. just like everybody covering their you-know-whats in the fire situation. This guy was weak. And you know what's interesting when I was reading all the stuff about it? Do you remember when people were talking about him being presidential timber, like he could run for president? Remember this? This is, oh yeah, there was a lot of talk about that. Like, this guy, he's so brilliant. He's
I think it's awesome that these guys still are saying we don't trust them, though, which is also weird because it's like who is this for them? He's doing this. He's doing all this for you, and you still don't trust him? Okay, I like it. I'll take it.
weak. And it's
What is he looking at? What was he looking at just there?
only now that all the tide has turned that he feels safe to say what he cooperated with the government to do, which was to censor you and stifle your First American right.
And he's crying like a little baby on a podcast because he got cursed at by somebody in the administration.
Oh, my staff got yelled at, and you didn't stand up for them.
No, I think you're 100% right. He's weak, and he's going. He's now bending to the new direction of the wind, which, by the way, also includes Meta, Facebook's parent company, doing away with a lot of DEI stuff. You know, they've taken tampons out of the men's restroom at Meta, and they're doing away with
What
DEI.
will we do?
They're doing away with some DEI. This is a memo leaked from Meta. On hiring, we will continue to source candidates from different backgrounds, but we will stop using the diverse slate approach. The practice has always been subject to public debate and is currently being challenged. So they're doing away with DEI initiatives.
It's also not just for employees. Like you think DEI, they're DEI to hire someone, but they were also favoring contractors who were of diverse. So it's much bigger than you think. And they're saying we're going to start sourcing from any American who has the best price and the best deal, as opposed to.
That's amazing. They're just like purists. Like, you're not doing enough symbolic for me. You need to show me you really mean it. Go and like fire all of your trans employees right now, or else I don't believe you.
Any company that is run by a Hispanic or Black person.
And it does breed incredible suspicion, because then go back to the fires. You look at these people, and take the fire chief, for example, the first woman person that's
LGBTQ.
I don't know. Anyway, whatever. And so but the point is that maybe she's the greatest fire chief on earth. But now that the city is burning to the ground, everybody's going, well, obviously this was probably a DEI hire, and it just breeds.
No, you're saying that. No, you can't point to DEI initiatives to be like, and that's why we're f***ing stupid. Oh, I can't believe people weren't immediately gay. It's just that like people are now logically gay because of DEI.
Breeds the suspicion.
Yeah.
It makes you like if you're Ben Carson and you're a brilliant surgeon, but because you're Black, you get accused of people assume that you got there not by earning it
because of affirmative action.
Yeah, and it's a pernicious Even in the best cases, it's pernicious.
Absolutely.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
I was really worried from the beginning about basically becoming this sort of decider of what is true in the world, right? That's like kind of a crazy position to be in for billions of people using your service. And so we tried to put in place a system that would deal with it. And early on tried to basically make it so that it was really limited. We're like, all right, we're just going to have the system where there's these third-party fact checkers and they can check the worst of the worst stuff, right? So things that are very clear hoaxes, that there's like, it's not like we're not parsing speech about whether something is slightly true or slightly false, like Earth is flat, things like that, right? So that was sort of the original intent. We put in place the system and it just sort of veered from there. I think to some degree, it's because some of the people whose job is to do fact checking, a lot of their industry is focused on political fact checking. So they just kind of veered in that direction. And we kept on trying to basically get it to be what we had originally intended, which is just, it's not, the point isn't to like judge people's opinions. It's to provide this layer to kind of help fact check some of the stuff that seems the most extreme, but it just, it was just never accepted by people broadly. I think people just felt like the fact checkers were too biased. Not necessarily even so much in what they ruled, although sometimes I think people would disagree with that. A lot of the time, it was just what types of things they chose to even go and fact check in the first place. So, I kind of think like after having gone through that whole exercise, it I don't know, it's something out of like 1984, one of these books where it's just like it really is a slippery slope, and it just got to a point where it's just okay. This is destroying so much trust, especially in the United States, to have this program. And I guess it was probably about a few years that I really started coming to the conclusion that we were going to need to change something about that. COVID was the other big one, where that was also very tricky because at the beginning it was it's like a legitimate public health crisis in the beginning, and it's even people who are like the most ardent First Amendment, defenders, the Supreme Court has this clear precedent that's like, all right, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. There are times when if there's an emergency, your ability to speak can temporarily be curtailed in order to get an emergency.
His name is Jack Harlow, but he's like fallen on bad times. He used to be cool. Good friends with Drewski initially, but now he just like does this weird stuff. I don't know. He is of Dominican descent, as you can clearly tell. Yeah.
So I was sympathetic to that at the beginning of COVID. It seemed like, okay, you have this virus. It seems like it's killing a lot of people. I don't know, like we didn't know at the time how dangerous it was going to be. So at the beginning, it kind of seemed like, okay, we should give a little bit of deference to the government and the health authorities on how we should play this. But when it went from, 2 weeks to flatten the curve to, and like in the beginning, it was like, okay, there aren't enough masks. Masks aren't that important. To then it's like, oh no, you have to wear a mask. And, everything was shifting around. It just became very difficult to kind of follow. And this,
I'm going to tell my nephew this is Zuckerberg. Nah, it's Lil Dicky. Lil Zucky. Justin Timberpool. Yeah, he's a musician, dude. Yeah, Lil Zucky. Please blink, bro. Humans do that shit way more than once every 3 minutes. Yeah, he's trying his very best to be human. And like getting hit with the Dominican ray did help tremendously, in my opinion. But even then, he just still has a lot of that like old lizard tendencies.
This really hit the most extreme, I'd say, during the Biden administration when they were trying to roll out the vaccine program. And now I'm generally like pretty pro rolling out vaccines. I think on balance, the vaccines are more positive than negative. But I think that while they're trying to push that program, they also tried to censor anyone who was basically arguing against it. And they pushed us super hard to take down things that were true, right? I mean, they basically pushed us and said, anything that says that vaccines might have side effects, you basically need to take down. And I was just like, well, we're not going to do that. Like, we're clearly not going to do that. I mean, that is kind of inarguably true.
Who is they? Who's telling you to take down things that
it was
that talk about vaccines?
Jews who control the media, Joe. I'll have you know. I didn't think it was the case, but yeah, Jews. They do the vaccines and the media. They do it both. It's wild. I'm Jewish. I didn't know. He's like, I'm so desperate. Joe, please, Joe. Holocaust denial is A-okay on my platform now. Please forget that I'm an evil billionaire.
It was people in the Biden administration. I think it was, I wasn't involved in those conversations directly, but I think it was.
How difficult is that to not be involved in those conversations directly? That's got to be strange too, right? Because you're running the company, but there's clearly you're moderating at scale that's beyond the imagination. The number of human beings you're moderating is fucking insane. Like, what's a Facebook? How many people use it on a daily basis? Forget about how many overall. Like, how many people use it regularly?
It's 3.2 billion people use one of our services every day. Yeah, it's wild.
More than a third of the planet. That's so crazy.
Yeah, and it's
almost half of Earth.
Well, on a monthly basis, it is probably half. Of it. But
so I want to say that though, there's a lot of like hypercritical people that are conspiracy theorists and think that everybody's a part of some cabal to control them. I want you to understand that whether it's YouTube or all these,
Mark is one of the good ones. So yeah, they do have a cabal, but Mark, as you can see, is one of the good ones. I mean, he hates COVID. Yeah, he hates COVID. He said it. He loves ivermectin. He's going to eat this ivermectin paste right now to show fealty.
Whatever place that you think is doing something that's awful, it's good that you speak, because this is how things get changed, and this is how people find out that people are upset about content moderation and censorship. But moderating at scale is insane.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
What we were talking the other day about the number of videos that go up every hour on YouTube, and it's bananas. It's bananas. It's like to try to get a human being that is reasonable, logical, and objective, that's going to analyze every video. It's virtually impossible. It's not possible. So you got to use a bunch of tools. You got to get a bunch of things wrong.
Yep.
And you have also people reporting things. And how much is that going to affect things? You could have mass reporting because you have bad actors. You have some corporation that decides we're going to attack this video because it's bad for us to get it taken down. There's so much going on. I want to put that in people's heads before we go on.
Yeah, his job is really hard.
Kind of numbers. Now understand you have the pandemic.
Yeah, moderation at that scale is really difficult, which is why it's awesome that he stopped doing it altogether as a cost-cutting operation. That's great. Zuck went from Reddit mod energy to Big Brother energy. What, Big Brother? What do you mean? No, he's just a BJJ guy now. That's it. He's Mr. BJJ now. And in that process of becoming Mr. BJJ, I think he got hit in the head a bunch. I don't know.
And then you have the administration that's doing something where I think they crossed the line, where it gets really weird, where they're saying what you were saying. They were trying to get you to take down vaccine side effects, which is just crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, like you're saying, I mean, it's so complicated, this system, that I could spend every minute of all of my time doing this and not actually focused on building any of the things that we're trying to do. AI, glasses, like the future of social media, all that stuff. So, I get involved in this stuff, but in general, we have a policy team. There are people who I trust. They're the people who are kind of working on this on a day-to-day basis. And the interactions that I was just referring to, I mean, a lot of this is documented. I mean, because Jim Jordan and the House had this whole investigation and committee into the kind of government censorship around stuff like this. And we produced all these documents, and it's all in the public domain. I mean, basically, these people from the Biden administration would call up our team and like scream at them and curse. And it's like, these documents it's all kind of out there.
Oh, did you record any of those phone calls?
I don't think we, but I think
I want to listen.
I mean, there are emails, the emails are published. It's all kind of out there. And they're like, and basically it just got to this point where we were like, no, we're not gonna take down things that are true. That's ridiculous. They wanted us to take down this meme of Leonardo DiCaprio looking at a TV talking about how 10 years from now or something, you're going to see an ad that says, okay, if you took a COVID vaccine, you're eligible for, for this kind of payment, like this sort of like class action lawsuit type meme. And they're like, no, you have to take that down. And we just said, no, we're not going to take down humor and satire. We're not going to take down things that are true. And then at some point, I guess, I don't know, it flipped a bit. I mean, Biden, when he gave some statement at some point, I don't know if it was a press conference or to some journalists, where he basically was like, these guys are killing people. And I don't know, then like all these different agencies and branches of government basically just like started investigating, coming after our company. It was brutal. It was brutal.
Wow. Yeah. It's just a massive overstepping.
Yeah.
And,
well, I mean,
also,
I think
you weren't killing people. This is the thing about all of this. It's like they suppressed so much information about.
There you have it. If you're wondering why he's trying to get into the good graces of Donald Trump while also simultaneously lying, it's not because he had a change of heart about vaccine denial and now knows the truth that vaccines make you gay and autistic. It's because he hated that he was prosecuted by the regulatory agencies. And he ties it back to COVID conspiracies and how he let COVID conspiracies run amok on the platform. But of course, that's not the reason why he was prosecuted by, or he was investigated by the FTC. He is literally lying. Dude spent 12 hours testifying in Congress while his company was embroiled in the most high-profile data privacy scandal of the 21st century. I don't know what the CFPB is or why it relates to social media companies. Wait, wasn't it the FTC too? Trump's FTC sued Facebook. On Rogan, Zuckerberg says he doesn't know what the CFPB is or why it's investigating Meta.
That were looking into us that were like not really involved with social media. Like I think like the CFPB, like this financial. I don't even know what it stands for. It's the financial.
Oh, you do know what it stands for, bitch. Come on.
Things that people should be doing, regardless of whether or not you believe in the vaccine. Regardless, put that aside. Metabolic health is of the utmost importance in your everyday life, whether there's a pandemic or there's not. And there's a lot of things that you can do that can help you recover from illness. It prevents illnesses. It makes your body more robust and healthy. It strengthens your immune system. And they were suppressing all that information. And that's just crazy. You can't say you're one of the good guys if you're suppressing information that would help people recover from all kinds of diseases, not just COVID, the flu, common cold, all sorts of different things, high doses of vitamin C, D3 with K2 and magnesium. They were suppressing this stuff because they didn't want people to think that you could get away with not taking a vaccine, which is really crazy when you're talking about something that 99.07% of people survive. This is a crazy overstep, but scared the shit out of a lot of people. Red-pilled, as it were, a lot of people because they realized, like, oh, 1984 is like an instruction manual. It's like it shows you how things can go that way with wrong speak and with bizarre distortion of facts. And when it comes down to it, in today's day and age, the way people get information.
The idea that the American government was actively suppressing people from learning the truth about working out and being healthy, being good for you in terms of like, you know, in terms of recovering from COVID or any number of different healthcare complications is the dumbest argument you can ever make. Yeah, dude, the government was actively telling you can't use vitamins. This is, once again, born out of like complete mania and a permanent seeking of victimhood where they're like, oh yeah, the government doesn't want you to know that receiving blowjobs is awesome, dude. They hate that. They're trying to suppress the truth. The government doesn't want you to know that, you know, ice cold glass of water hits different when it's on your bedside and in the middle of the night when you wake up and you're thirsty. That's right, dude. The government is actively suppressing that, bro. I hate it. Nobody is suppressing the understandable notion of stating facts about working out. It's so stupid.
Information is through your platform, through X. This is how people are getting information. They're getting information from YouTube. They're getting information from a bunch of different sources now. And you can't censor that if it's real legitimate information because it's not ideologically convenient for you.
Yeah. So,
No.
I mean, that's basically the journey that I've been on, right? Started off very pro free speech. And then over the last 10 years, there have been these two big episodes. It was the Trump election and the aftermath, where I feel like in retrospect, I deferred too much to the kind of critique of the media on what we should do. And since then, I think generally trust in media has fallen off a cliff, right? So I don't think I'm alone in that journey. I think that's basically the experience that a lot of people have had is, okay, it's the stuff that's being written about is not kind of all accurate. And even if the facts are right, it's kind of written from a slant a lot of the time.
Of course.
And then there was the government version of it, which was during COVID, which is okay. Like, it's like our government is telling us that we need to censor true things. It's like, this is a disaster. And it's not just the U.S., right? I think a lot of people in the U.S. focus on this as an American phenomenon, but I kind of think that the reaction to COVID probably caused a breakdown in trust in a lot of governments around the world. Because, I mean, 2024 was a big election.
I never understood why conservatives hated this guy so much. Facebook has always been so welcoming to QAnon conspiracy theories. And they still thought that they still thought that Zuckerberg was against them. And I never understood that. Like, he's always been a friend. And even now, he's like actively trying to be like, no, guys, I love this. Like, I'm with it. Look, I do Brazilian jiu-jitsu because he's Jewish. That certainly plays a role for some people. That certainly plays a role for, like, the hardline Nazis. But, Ben Shapiro's Jewish, and he's broadly well received by the right-wing movement. I don't know. They told him he looks so fine with a beard and mustache. They said he looks like Jack Harlow. Since then, he thinks he is Jack Harlow. I don't know. I just never really understood that the broad hatred that people have for big tech. Like, I get why they had it for Google, even though Google has also been decently pro right-wing, even neo-Nazi sentiment. But like, Facebook has always been like overtly right-wing.
Year around the world, and there are all these countries, India, just like a ton of countries that had elections, and the incumbents basically lost every single one. So there is some sort of a global phenomenon where the whether it was because of inflation, because of the economic policies to deal with COVID, or just how the governments dealt with COVID, seems to have had this effect that's global, not just the U.S., but like a very broad decrease in trust, at least in that set of incumbents, and maybe in sort of these democratic institutions overall. So I think that what you're saying of, how do people get their information now? It's by sharing it online on social media. I think that that's just increasingly true. And my view at this point is like, all right, like, we started off focused on free expression. We kind of had this pressure tested over the last period. I feel like I just have a much greater command now of what I think the policies should be, and like, this is how it's going to be going forward. And so I mean, at this point, I think a lot of people.
What do you mean by Google being right wing? I've always maintained the position that if terms of service were properly applied by platforms, the terms of service that are written, right, were just simply applied by platforms. Most platforms will look like Twitch. They just don't ban. YouTube never bans. Like, it takes a uniquely far-right, overt neo-Nazi to get permit from YouTube. I mean, look, Keemstar still has his channel. Yeah, you have to do, like, active crimes on YouTube. At most, they'll demonetize you. And even that's, like, a relatively new thing. YouTube was a major platform for openly far-right, neo-Nazi radicalization that took place in the initial Gamergate era. Unless you accidentally include 5 seconds of a trailer, that's the copyright system. They will nuke you from orbit. Okay, that's, they actively do work against that. That's the one thing that they do care about, because that's capitalism.
Look at this as like a purely political thing. It's because they kind of look at the timing and they're like, hey, well, you're doing this right after the election. It's like, okay, I try not to like change our content rules like right in the middle of an election either, right? It's like, there's not like a great time to do this. It's
right. And you want to do it a year later.
Yeah, it's like, there's no good time to do it. There's,
right.
And whatever time is going on, there's going to be, so the good thing about doing it after the election is you get to take this kind of cultural pulse as like, okay, where are people right now? And how are people thinking about it? We try to have policies that reflect mainstream discourse. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is something I've been thinking about for a while. I think that this is going to be pretty durable because at this point we've just been pressure tested on this stuff for like the last 8 to 10 years with like these huge institutions just pressuring us, and I feel like this is kind of the right place to be going forward.
What was it like when they were attacking you? Like, first of all, what was the premise? Like, what were they saying was your offense? Was it that you were allowing information that was not true, that was getting out there? I know there was also, they're saying that you guys were allowing hate groups to speak. There was a lot of this.
Yeah. I mean, the tough thing with politics is that there's like...
Bro, Elon Musk basically destroyed this man. Ironically enough, initially he had destroyed Elon Musk by being like, all right, talk shit, get hit. And Elon was like, bet, I'm not fighting you. I'm just going to turn you into me. He is literally following the footsteps of Elon Musk. In order to win favor with the Trump administration, he's just like, yeah, I'm just like Elon. I'm just like you, Elon. I promise.
Well, when you say someone's coming after you, are you referring to kind of the government and investigations and all that? I mean, so the issue is that there's
people saying divorce incoming, but Zuck is a major wife guy, like major wife guy. He's already a libertarian guy with an Asian wife, so he already. These guys either become perma-divorce dads or libertarian guys with Asian wives. And Zuck is the second. Someone said passport bros. Dog, not every single person that has an Asian wife is a passport bro. The fuck are you talking about? Didn't they meet at goddamn Stanford or some shit? Or Harvard? Some of y'all are so stupid. We're waiting on Caroline and Marcy to get here, and then we're going to go head to the Rose Bowl. No, we'll take the Porsche.
What specific thing an agency might be looking into you for. And then there's like the underlying political motivation, which is like, why do the people who are running this thing hate you? And I think that those can often be two very different things.
Do you think this overt right-wing shift of corpos like Mark would have still happened if Kamala won? No, dude, my car. We're going in my car. We're driving in my car. Sorry.
Tim Pool, host of Timcast.
Sorry.
Are you buying the Zuckerberg transition?
I'm buying that he's a fair weather friend and that this is the path of least resistance. But hey, look, we're happy Trump won, so I'll take the power if he's shifting in this direction. But I think when you look at the Joe Rogan,
I love that Tim Pool acts like he is like a consequential figure in the right-wing movement. Have you guys noticed that like there are so many silly ass people that are in Trump's immediate orbit, and yet Tim Pool, not one of those guys. I feel like his vibes are so bad that even people in Trump's orbit are just like, I don't really mess with that guy. He's kind of odd. I don't really like him. Think about it. The Russian government has paid people that have been closer to Donald Trump than Tim Pool, like Dave Rubin, like Benny Johnson. I'm seeing a bunch of this sort of response to my mentions today, which are intense. Worst case scenario for Zuckerberg is not only does he alienate himself from Dems liberals, but conservatives find this public heel turn disingenuous. Dave, Zuckerberg is such a spineless jellyfish. Someone from Biden's team, unnamed, told his team to take stuff down, so he rolled over. Trump gets elected, and suddenly he's a new man. Meta execs anticipated this, which is why policy leader Joel Kaplan and Kevin Martin called a bunch of conservative influencers the night before their policy overhaul to start warming them up. Charlie Kirk says he and Zuckerberg spoke recently. To understand the way that right-wing independent content creators and like the right-wing establishment are basically hand in glove all the time, look no further than this example. Mark Zuckerberg calling up me, but on the Republican side by phone. Can you imagine a world where any liberal establishment wins office and then a multi-billionaire owner of a social media platform gives me a direct call to be like, hey, I'm going to do a left-wing pivot now, and I just wanted to make sure that you're cool with it. Understand the asymmetry. Understand how unbalanced the structure is. Understand how pervasive the influence of the supposed independent media figures are and how much power they hold. But are you cool with it? What do you mean? The left is fractured? They're not the left. The Democratic Party is not the left. Anyway, Mr. Zuckerberg decided to promote Mr. Kaplan's Meta's head of global public to carry out the changes and deepen Meta's ties to the incoming Trump administration. replacing Nick Clegg, a former deputy minister of Britain who had handled policy and regulatory issues globally for Meta since 2018. The night before Meta's announcement, Mr. Kaplan held individual calls with top conservative social media influencers, two people said. I guess Tim Pool didn't get that call.
Rogan podcast, and he talks about, oh, they're yelling at us and they're forcing us to do these things. This only scratches the surface. Facebook built a portal for feds to log in to their company so they could flag misinformation. It has long been known, over a decade, that the federal government, the FBI, the CIA, I think the NSA, had backdoor access to Facebook as well as many other companies. So when Zuckerberg comes out and he's all, oh man, you know, they were yelling at us and putting this pressure. We had no choice to do it. You're only saying that now because the news and the information got leaked over a long and hard-fought battle where activists, real journalists, were exposing them for having done this. Now they're giving us the light vanilla version of, they were just having us censor this COVID stuff. No. Let me ask you a question, Mark Zuckerberg. Eric Charamella, do you remember that name?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the guys involved in whistleblowing on Donald Trump for the false impeachment against him related to Ukraine. And there was a period where if you went on...
This chatter said he signed on to Google with a new account. Since you search for HasanAbi, sponsor post, the best news show on YouTube, Timcast. This is how they keep maintaining, dude. I don't do any marketing. Look at my numbers. This guy gets paid by the Russian government to the tune of, $4 million, does constant marketing, and he barely has any motion. I'm not sure if he's advertising on the site as a whole or in politics and gaming. I got an ad for him searching for Tarkov.
Facebook and typed that name in any context, they would delete it without notification, no warning, no rule violation. That is extreme censorship because covering up that name hid a news story of historical significance. We can talk about the laptop. That affected an election, massively important.
And then Joe ended up pardoning his son for the laptop that was real that you got censored for talking about.
Yep.
When Joe Biden says, I could have won, how do you react to that?
What was he underwater, like 14 points in the internal polling?
They didn't show him that poll.
It's really remarkable and scary, though. If you're a Democrat, they don't have anybody. They've been desperate to ice.
I mean, he's not even wrong. If you are a Democrat and you are used to like all of these billionaires being overtly liberal or whatever, maybe this is a scary predicament. But if you're a leftist, like I know that I've never had, like there's never been a moment where I'm like, oh man, I feel so protected by billionaires. I feel so incredibly protected by, you know, these billionaires. They're right wing. They're right wing. They've always been right wing. They don't care about anything. They just care about profit.
Out anybody who could compete with their established order.
And they don't have Newsom anymore. Is Newsom salvageable at this point?
When that video came out and Newsom was asked by Anderson Cooper, where's the water? And he said, they're figuring it out. That said right there. Newsom said, I am the governor and I have no idea what's going on in my state.
That picture of him with his hands in his back pockets staring at the fire, he's toast.
The fire stuff hits me really personally. I have a lot of friends deeply affected by it. And I don't want to sound crass. I see these natural disasters happen in the country, the hurricanes, and I feel for these people. And this may sound a little selfish, but when I have family and friends that are living in those hills, and I don't know if they're alive or dead, it hits me twice as hard.
Dog, I live here, and I don't know what the hell you're talking about. You have friends that are on those hills that you don't know are alive or dead? What are you saying? What the hell is he saying, dude? Bro, what a ridiculous exaggeration. Yeah, Tim Pool doesn't know if his friends are alive or dead up on those hills because they don't call him, because they're not friends, because they don't want to call Tim. When Tim calls, they're like, oh, God, gross. What do you mean? Yeah, they might have faked their deaths to get away from you, Tim. He's talking about you. Yeah, Tim's like, I have friends out there, you know, like HasanAbi, Piker. I keep reaching out to him, hoping he's all right, but he doesn't respond to me, so he might be dead. Jesse, you know what it's like to have a loved one die in a fiery inferno, and you look back at your last text messages to him, and it's like, please respond. I've been calling for 2 days, and you haven't responded.
And I know it shouldn't, but it is personal. So I get really offended by the callousness and the apathy coming from the government there.
Yeah, we need a federal takeover of California. They're just not equipped to handle this. And we got the Olympics right around.
Oh, my God. He loves that. He loves that nonsense position.